can sync files and you can share files. And then it's kind of like Google Hangout or Google Docs, where you can share files and you can collaborative edit files together. And it's kind of like iCloud, where you can sync your calendar and your contacts and your pictures. It has a lot of things all built in, and it's all open source, and you can run it on your own computer, your own hardware at home.
So you say it's like these. How is it better than all of those that you mentioned?
You can run it on your own computer at home under your own control. So hence its own cloud.
You just have to give the NSA a back door.
That's right. They've already got one.
So, just as I said, there's a lot of the features. Is you can do file sharing, file syncing. You can integrate into GNOME to sync your calendars, and there's a lot to it. This just changed. I was all ready for the other view, and it's a responsive website, so now it looks a little bit different. But you can run it under your own access. You can get to it from your web browser or your Android or your iOS devices. You can extend it with plugins and other things like that.
What kind of plugins?
If you want to write it, you can run it.
How many hundreds of plugins or thousand plugins are out there right now?
I didn't count, and I haven't seen a number. I'm not sure, but there's a lot. There's a community-driven plugin section. By default, it comes with, I want to say, about 20 plugins. And
I mean, you got everything from,
I don't know. I think it's the PHP as the base, like what the web runs on, and it uses MySQL database in the back end. Like if you're going to run it by yourself and you want the easy setup, you can, for Debian, you can do an apt-get install. I think when you run it that way, it runs a flat file instead of a database. So it's a real simple, easy way to go. It's real low performance at that point. If you're going to be running more than 2 or 3 people, then you're going to want to make sure you're running on a MySQL database.
Did it things like process flow and that type of thing? You said you could collaborate.
It has collaboration where you can have like 2 documents open, or a document open by multiple people, and it shows each person editing on the fly, and it shows who it is and who's all in it at once. I have it set up with my phone, where every time I take a picture, it will go ahead and sync up. And my phone's not working with my projector, but I'm going to take a picture of everybody. Is there anybody specifically doesn't want to be in a picture?
Duck.
Say cheese. And I also have to make sure. So the client on here will, you can set it to save data, so it's not going to be running over data all the time. You can tell it to only do it on wireless. So right now I have to connect to the wireless. But you can get to all your same files. By default, it doesn't sync all your folders, or it doesn't have a folder sync. There's a few pro apps you can get that will do a folder sync. You can tell it to sync specific files, and it'll keep that, like when it gets changed by another computer, it will update it on your phone for you automatically.
Are you have it hosted on a service, or do you have it hosted at home right now?
I have it hosted at home right now. I think it runs okay. It's not, like if I had 4 or 5 people running this, I'd want a better computer to run it on. But right now, I'm running it on a Pentium 4 hyper-threading with a gig of RAM. And for storage, I have a terabyte of hard drive on it. But
It came up right there.
What about your network?
yep, so that picture I just took, synced over. And now, every picture I take syncs to 5 different computers. The OwnCloud server, my desktop, my laptop, and this, and one other one I think. Maybe it's other one.
What's your index? Are you having any trouble with firewalls or netting?
I have
2 phones.
netting is completely outside of the scope, but I have Comcast at home, and
What type of speed?
It's 12 meg. I think it's Xfinity.
I don't know, do you have to have a DNS service to get to your,
I do have dining DNS, so it's not a static IP address. You don't have to have a static IP, but you have to have a name for your own cloud server to run right. Otherwise,
Yes.
Well, dynamic DNS. I used to use Dyn DNS.
That's been around a long time.
But yeah, it's they've closed their free service, and again, outside of the scope, I actually my registrar will allow me to run dynamic DNS.
Duck DNS is a good free one.
Tony, you said this syncs to those 5 devices. Is they actually copy to those devices, or are those just all sharing a?
No, it actually copies all to each one. So there's the client, there's a server, and then the client. The server also allows you to do web dev connections, so you can mount the whole file system, all your files as a web dev. Then it's only held on the server, it's not on your PC.
So the projector quality is terrible.
Right, yeah, it's, as you see,
Because
it's
I
like a
assume
format
that
file.
picture is
Well,
good
that might not
quality,
have been
but the
focused,
projector is not giving it justice.
Oh, it's a 2 meg file. Yeah, I think it's more the projector, and it's probably my laptop too. This is a pretty low
Also,
power.
it might not be compatible resolution either.
Right. So as you can see here, I have, this is the client that you can install. You can choose specific folders to sync. So on my desktop computer at home, I have more syncing than I do on my laptop, because I don't want everything synced over. There's, like all my video files, I don't need on my laptop. So I only sync a couple of them. And it shows you how much space you're using and how much is free. So as you can see, it's showing 99 gigs of use and then 525 free. I'm actually using a terabyte hard drive on there, but it's showing like my file size and then what the free space is.
What's the encryption?
The encryption, I'm using HTTPS. As you can see right here at the top. It's, so it's
That's
whatever
a
you want to set up
transfer.
on your
But
server.
at rest, it's AES 256.
I'm actually using the SHA-1.
Oh, so 128.
So it's a pretty low encryption what I'm using right now, but I'm about to change that soon.
Do you have to get your own cert for that? Or do
Yeah,
they?
no, that's, because I'm running it on my own server,
Mhm.
then running it over HTTPS is everything on my side. I have to manage that. So either I have to go through a CA to get a cert, or I can do a self-sign.
Is yours self-signed?
Mine is self-signed right now.
So this 127, the host name is running it into our own your server.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Okay, this 127, the host name, the DNS name, is actual server is running on your own server.
Right, yeah, this is my own server. So you can see HTTPS, and because it has a slash, it's because it's a self-signed cert. So 127 is the subdomain, so that's that's the server at my house. And then bemushosting.com is my main domain.
But it's not running on this notebook, right?
It's not running on this laptop, just the client.
Right.
And this is the web interface.
the server can it run on Windows?
I believe so. I'm not sure. As long as I'm pretty sure, as long as you can run Apache and MySQL, which I know you can. So you can see here, you can go to the web interface, and you can get to your music or all your files through this interface. It's a responsive website, so it looks a little bit different here than if you were somewhere else, on a different computer, on a phone. You can see, I'm going to go into this folder, it's my bin folder, and it has all these folders and files. This is how the dot files, this is how I keep all my settings the same between all my computers, as I do a sync. So all my scripts I update it in one place, it updates across all the computers.
Now, do you have a revision history so you can go back and see if you want to?
No, this is just straight syncing.
There are
So if you
plugins
need
that
revision
do
history, you'd have to build in another backup system. Like backup my PC will do things like that.
Who's your registrar?
Namecheap. And then you can see here, this is the actual folder on the laptop, and you can see all the same files and scripts as we have here in the web interface. Along the side over here, you can share files and you can download them. So like if I wanted to share it, I can click here.
So if you had a folder that wasn't shared on your laptop, but you wanted that file on your
No,
laptop?
I can share it out and, oh yeah, there you go. It's pretty, you can share it to another user on the OwnCloud server, or you can say share a link, and I can just give that link out to somebody and I can share off my file.
Oh, so anybody that has that link can get to it.
Right, and I can either leave it in the clear, where just anybody can grab it, or if it's published, I can make it a password protected. It has email functions, it's just I don't have it set up right now. So I can take this link, copy that, post it into an email or an IM chat to somebody, then they can look at that same file. Now, as for, you can, I believe you can do it with folders also. It has the share folders up here. And with the newest version 7, they've allowed server-to-server sharing, or enabled server-to-server sharing. So if I know somebody else running their own cloud, my own cloud, we can link the two specific folders, and we can collaborate. And what that allows is previously, if I wanted to share that folder with my friend, he would have to log off of his own cloud, then log into my own cloud, or use 2 different web browsers or 2 different instances. And then he'd be able to edit, we'd be able to collaborate, and then he'd have to go back to his own cloud. If he wanted that saved on his own cloud, he would have to save it, download it, and then resave it back into his own cloud files. So with the new version, it does server-server, and it just shows up as a folder right within his own cloud. Some of the other features they've enabled is external, where is it on here?
Place you can compare features.
Features. They've enabled external sources for storage sources. So you can use Google Drive, Dropbox, other web dev, Amazon EC or S3 storage.
What was the installation experience in putting all this together? I mean, with your registrar, you worked with your certificates, you worked with
Well,
the installation of the tool itself.
Right. I was able to do it within a couple hours to have everything running reliably. If you've never done it before, you could plan for a little bit more time, because I already had a registrar set up. I already had my server set up. Well, like I said, you could do, it's packaged within, for Debian packages, for the server, and there's Red Hat packages. But I chose to do the manual install, which means you download the tar file, and it's a bunch of PHP files in there. You dump it into your web root, because I already had MySQL and Apache installed. And then you configure it. I'm sorry?
And PHP, I assume,
Right.
too.
Yeah, well, it came default. It was a LAMP server I had already set up, so
Right.
MySQL, or Apache, MySQL, PHP. And then I configured it to have my data store on a separate area from my web root, just for additional security. There's, so mobile syncing, it says mobile and desktop syncing. I think like what it's shown with it does the instant picture uploads. And you can do individual, but it doesn't work the same as the desktop client.
And do you have to have the client, or do they have a REST API that you can use from any?
REST API, yeah. I'm not a programmer, so I don't know all the details about that, but I have seen that word. Let's see, there's photo galleries. There used to be a music player built in, but it didn't work very well on older versions.
Have you ever done calendars or contacts?
I have not, because I opted to use Google Calendar, and I haven't found a way to have it all synced together.
I actually
There's-
use mine to get away from using Google for calendar and contacts. So
Yeah.
all my calendars sync through my OwnCloud to my Android phone, calendar, all of that.
Yeah, that's really good, and I've really been debating about doing it, it's just my family calendar and making my wife work with everything is, it's a little hard. And then.
Pick your battles wisely.
Exactly. And that's how I decided to back up my wife's laptop, is to have it sync through the OwnCloud.
Cool.
And then I have a separate backup to an off-site that's separate from OwnCloud. Because OwnCloud really is just a sync. It's not a formal backup solution. It's kind of like Dropbox, you know, it syncs to the place, so you can sync it to another computer. You now have it on 3 different places, but there's no versioning, you can't go back in time to a specific time. You can integrate it with LDAP servers for Active Directory, and for contacts searching. Like I said, there's the REST API. They have a corporate edition, so you can run it on your corporate servers. So, a little bit more.
How good is their security? Do they have any auditing on their code or anything like that? Make sure it's secure?
I haven't really looked that far into it, so I'm not sure, but I watch a lot of the news, and I haven't seen any news about OwnCloud being hacked or any big security flaws come out. All right, so these are some of the different apps. So if we go over to the documents, and this new document, I have it shared with another, that was my phone.
Okay.
I have this document shared with another user, and I like, let's touch a bit on this. So, as we can see that I have one side, this side I've logged in as me, this side I have logged in as the other user, which is the admin user, which happens to be called root. It's not actually the root account. So root can come over here and say hello, and then it's supposed to show up on the other one. Hello, and then
Is that like only when it becomes active and it updates?
it's a good question. I haven't really used it that much.
Yeah, it kind of looks that way.
Right, and more likely, if it's running on 2 different computers, you're constantly in there being active, then it'll be updating more often. I think what they use in the back end of this is Etherpad. I don't know if everybody's heard of Etherpad. It's this same thing where you can edit and you can have multiple people editing and collaborating. It's just they've integrated it into OwnCloud.
It's just, see, it's an ODT that's open docs.
Yeah.
So,
So you
That's
can
writers.
sync.
Yeah.
writers, but is it any other, besides spreadsheets and all that other stuff?
It's supposed to use a lot of the other ones. It's just, I haven't installed the back end. There's like if you install the full open office on your computer, that's on the server, it'll use those files to do the editing, but I haven't done that.
Does every user have to install that, or is it just?
No, it's on the server.
It's on the server, so you can run all those different files, share all those different files.
I don't know about being like Excel sheets and those other things, but for document, like Word docs, I know it does DOC, DOT, TXT, text file based things. The reason I'd say that it doesn't work well with the others is because in my instance, it'll show up all of my files. So, like, this is one of my class things I was just editing. Oh, it does work. And this is, it's because it's an ODT file. So this is Feminist and Technology for my master's class I'm taking right now. But I did a few in doc format, DOCX, and it gets these errors. And I think that's because I don't have full open office installed, or the newest version. Because I'm running Debian server headless with no X on it or anything. It's a real stripped down version. So I think that's why I'm getting these errors. As for apps, I think I need to mute my phone. I don't know how much time we have. You'll have to stop at this time.
3 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll deal with that later.
They'll let you know the internet's shutting down.
So as the admin user, you can install and remove those plugins or applications. So these are the 6 default ones that are enabled. Pictures, you're supposed to be able to view all your pictures, contacts, calendars. You can run a slideshow also from your pictures thing, but this, I think it uses HTML5, and I think this laptop's about 200 power to run that. But as for running apps, it takes a minute for this to come up. And I think it's because the back end, my server is kind of on the low end. You can run this from your web host, like A2 hosting, or you can either do it as a shared host, or you can do it as your own VPS, DigitalOcean. Or if you go to the OwnCloud website, they have suggested hosts that you can go through. There are some free editions if you want to try it out. They give you like a gig of space to play around with it. As you can tell, I'm like a 1 version behind the newest version, so it tells you to update. It will do the update in the background for you. Or you tell it to update, and it goes through and it pulls all the new files. It does the updates. It takes a little bit of time to do it, so I typically wait. And I don't know what it's doing. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is that responsive site. So these are, in the gray are all the ones that are enabled. So it's like PDF viewer, pictures, text search. We can come down here to encryption. You can turn on encryption, and it'll encrypt on the server side. It encrypts to the user's password, so the first time they go to log in, it'll walk them through setting up their key. I don't have that enabled, but you can do that.
When you say user's password, the user for the software.
The OwnCloud user, right.
May I have your attention, please? The time is now 8:30, and the library will be closing in 30 minutes at 9 o'clock. Please be advised that the internet will shut down 10 minutes before closing. Thank you.
So there's a lot of other things. This new one is really cool. It's a replacement. It can be a full replacement for Google Reader. I used that for a while until I had some issues when I was doing a database conversion. It crapped out.
What kind
I
of
just never
views,
went back
just
to it.
RSS feeds, or?
RSS feed, yeah, and Atom feeds. And it'll go through and you use your web browser as the reader. So it'll bring it all together, and then you can sort through and read. It'll either put all the feeds together in line, or you can separate out and click on the individual feeds. There's, I think this Postman, or Password Manager you can set up. There's some messaging you can add in. There's add your app. So this is how to go in and create your own application. I don't have the link offhand to where the repository is. But there's a big repository of everybody that's created their apps and they've already have it available. So, any questions?
That's, yeah, great,
How-
great summary.
How long has it been out?
Years and years. I've been running it for 3 years, and I run it for version 5, 6, and 7. I played with it when it was like version 2, but I really didn't have a good use case at that time. But like I said, now I back up all my files between laptops, and it automatically does a sync. And one thing I did with it is I was editing a script in my GUI on my laptop, but I was running the script on my server. So I would edit it here. Within, I would say 15 seconds, the script is already updated, and I could run it on the server. And I didn't have to do any other file or commands or anything. Switching between editors other than the 2 windows that I was already using.
How difficult is it going to be to teach my wife to use it on her laptop?
If all you want to do is use this file syncing section to like back up your stuff, you don't have to teach her anything. You go through and do the setup, and it just runs in the background. There's
Tell her
nothing
what
else.
directories on or what folders.
Right, yeah, so if you go in, similar to here, you can say add folder, and you can either use a new folder on your computer and then sync to a new one, or you can create or use one that's already on there and have it pull down all the files. So her laptop hard drive dies. All you have to do is reinstall the client and tell it to resync her folders, and it'll pull everything back down for her. So say if we use that, let's choose my documents folder. And then we'll call it docs. And then this is all my folders I have on the server already. I can choose documents and click add folder.
Put it underneath that.
And it adds it right in the list. And now it's going to start syncing down all my documents. And it takes some time. It'll alert you or show you how much it's doing. And see, it just went through and checked those other 2 folders. And then soon you'll see it start syncing it.
Yeah, I got a question. If you don't set up your own OwnCloud when you're hosting it yourself, what service does it use to store all the files, and how big is it, reliable is it, and that sort of stuff? I know Dropbox is probably pretty reliable, because they're making all kinds of money off of it.
I think it's really reliable. It really depends on your hardware. So
it's always hosted on your hardware?
You have different options. You can either host it on your own hardware, or you can host it with another host. And you just pay for whatever their host. Or like on mine, I have a terabyte hard drive. So I bought a terabyte hard drive from a friend for $20 and added it in here, and now I have a terabyte of sync.
Okay, so basically it's not like Dropbox where they're offering the service. It's, you can use it on wherever you want to have it hosted, but you have to pay for it if it's an outside service.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So if you hire somebody reliable, you're in good shape. If you hire somebody flaky, you're not so good.
But yeah, the one thing you need is you need the registrar, right? The certificate.
Yeah, you need a name. So the DNS, you can use either something like a no IP or
Duck DNS.
Duck DNS.
Dying DNS.
The Dying DNS is only a pay version now, so if you want to pay for it, that works. I'm using my registrar as Namecheap, and they have a dynamic DNS updating. Yeah, so you can see here that I have a 1.4 gig on my server, and it's starting to sync. It's already done, 17 megs. You can see it pulling down individual files. I'm actually going to stop it.
Actually,
And you can say pause.
Oh.
I think it's really neat with all the features. It goes way beyond Dropbox and calendar and all that other stuff.
Right.
And I think it sounds really good.
Yeah, it is really cool. Like I said, I use it the phone picture sync the most. And I know most people will start doing theirs with like on the Google picture sync. But again, if you want to get away from Google, this is like the best way to sync your stuff.
If they want a subpoena for anything, they got to subpoena.
Exactly,
There
yeah.
you go.
Yeah, note on Dropbox, they're sharing with your native, the unnamed neighbors. So, be careful using Dropbox.